Faithful listeners, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Keystone Chronicles podcast. With us this week, we're joined by the Ridge Reaper himself, Mr. Coy Donahue, and a great episode here. We talk about the Beyond the Laurel calls that are handmade by Coy, and tightline Euro nymphing, and not to mention the bird that was just killed a couple days ago here in Pennsylvania. And I've also just received the information that the second tag is filled, and this guy is a savage, man. He is on fire. Get a hold of him if you guys are looking for some turkey calls or looking for any help with your turkey hunting. Also, in the episode, go over some trout fishing. All you got to do is check out his page, man. He's a complete savage. He's got the stuff to prove it on there. Tightline Euro nymphing is the subject we go over also. Really good conversation. I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you for all the love and support. Let's get to it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Keystone Chronicles podcast. I'm real excited for this week. Me and Coy have been shooting the shit back together here, trying to find some time for each other. And with us, we are joined by Coy Donahue. And this guy's a turkey killer. This guy is a trout slayer, outdoorsman, just an all-around guy that you want with you in the woods. So how are you, man?
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to talk.
For sure. Yep, for sure. So you know what, we're gonna tear right into it, man. I want to do the introduction and everything with you, but I know that you put a bird on the ground here, and let's do it, man. Let's tear right into how'd it go down.
Yeah. So I work night shift. This week I was on night shift, so I get off at 7 a.m, and I've been getting out about 7:30 every morning for the week before, scouting this piece of public, just listening, walking these tram roads. And it was Wednesday, the Wednesday before the first day. I got back in this piece of public, and there were just birds gobbling everywhere. I'm like, man, like they're in here. Like I know it gets hunted hard, but it's big woods, and so I'm like, Saturday morning, we're gonna get up early. We're gonna truck back in here and just try to get in the middle of them. I had a good idea where they were roosting on this ridge, so I dropped the pin, and we got in there super early Saturday morning. There was only one other car in the parking lot, and trucked back in, about a 20-minute walk, and got set up. And it was, as you know, it was rough morning weather-wise. It was it was not ideal turkey hunting weather, and we never heard a bird gobble on the limb. And I'm like, man, like I know they're here, they're just not gobbling. We're in this grown-up field, and I looked out there a couple hundred yards, and there was two gobblers walking across, like they just hit the ground. I'm like, oh man, like they're here, they just not gobbling, like we're in the middle of them. And I called one time about half hour after they hit the ground, and they gobbled, and like, I kid you not, the whole woods lit up. Turkeys started gobbling everywhere. And I was like, yeah, like, okay, we're good. We just need to be patient, set up, and just hang tight. I mean, it was like an hour went by, and we're still watching them birds. They're out there strutting with hens a few hundred yards out. And I'm like, dude, you want to make a move? I was hunting with my buddy. I'm like, you want to make a move on these birds? He's like, yeah, because the other ones that were gobbling across the ridge were kind of just shut up. You know, they shot, gobbled, and called it a morning. So I'm like, let's just make a move on these turkeys. So we worked out around, and they were still gobbling, like just letting us know where they were at, like what you want out of a turkey, you know. And we got set up probably 3 or 4 different times on these birds, and they just kept the hens. We called in the hens twice. There's so many hens. We called in a different hen twice. They, drag along them longbeards right with them. But every time them longbeards were out there 70, 80 yards, just strutting, would not come any closer. They'd work off, and we ended up following them almost back to the truck. Like where we killed them was only 150 yards from the truck. Nice. So when we got set up that final time, they were out there, the whole flock. I mean, I think it was 3 or 4 hens, two longbeards and 3 or 4 jakes, and we're sitting in this. It was a different grown up field, and I started calling. They're hammering, and it was like 5 minutes went by. We're like on our bellies trying to like get a better look, and this it's just so thick. And I look up like 20 yards in front of me, and they're standing there, both of them. And I was with my buddy, and I kept saying, "You shoot the one on the left. You shoot the one on the left." Well, this hen had us pinpointed, like had us dead to rights. There was nothing we could do. And I
Mm-hmm.
had my gun up, my buddy didn't. And he's like, "Dude, just shoot. I can't move." And I'm like, just do it. Just do it. He's like, "No, I can't, dude. I'm gonna mess it up." I'm like, "All right." So I just shot, and that was it. Made for a pretty quick carry. Truck was on 150
Mm-hmm.
yards. Kind of worked out nice.
Perfect. Yeah, that's one hell of a morning, man. Now, when you say it was thick, were you guys like in some mountain laurel, or what was the terrain?
So it's real hilly country. I wouldn't say mountainous country, but real hilly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's game lands. It's a lot of like the game commission burned it a few years ago, and they stocked it with pheasants. So it's like it's a lot of alamala bushes and a bunch of grown up trees, small pines. It's turkey country,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
it's all hardwoods, fields, hardwoods. It's just it's where you want to be for turkeys. It's super nice country. But I'm gonna go back in there tomorrow. I think either tomorrow morning or Tuesday morning. And try to. I know there's a few other birds in there.
Good deal. Good deal, man. So, how big were the spurs, and how was it a bigger beard? Was it an older
It
bird?
was a yeah. It was a the spurs. One was inch and an eighth, and one was just over that. So it was a
Nice.
mature bird. Only had eight and a
Yeah.
half inch beard, but that's the thing with turkeys is the beards. They don't. I've shot a
Mm-hmm.
lot of 3, 4 year old turkeys that have 8, 9 inch beards just from freezing off and dragging on ice in the winter. And I've shot
Yep.
plenty of 2 year olds with 10 and a half, 11 inch beards. Like the
Mm-hmm.
beards really don't mean a whole lot when it comes down to it. It's all about the spurs.
True.
But
Yep. For sure, man. Yeah, that's awesome, and it's really hard to get it done on public land. When you're turkey hunting and that turkey sounds off, it's yelling, "Hey, everybody, I'm over here."
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Come get
yeah,
me. And and you got to be on your feet, and sometimes it takes moving around like you guys did,
yeah.
and other times, how many times have you stood up at the wrong time? Hey, I'm gonna move, make a move, and bang, they're
Right.
standing right there.
Yeah.
So,
That's what these turkeys gobbled so much. I'm like, man, I hope they shut up so no one else comes in on us. That
right.
was my biggest worry. Like, just quit gobbling. I'm like sitting there, just like, man, like how is no one else hunting these birds? Like, especially that
Hmm.
close to where that parking lot was.
Well, I think you can thank the weather.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
There's a
It was rough.
there's a lot of fair weather hunters out there that, but for one reason or another, and we've talked about it on this show plenty of times, the birds in the rain, they seem to, I don't know. I don't know what the theory is behind it. I know what my theory is. I feel like, I catch them in a little more open places or see them in a little more open
Yeah.
places when it's raining because I think they can't hear as
Ex-
well
exactly. Yeah.
be
Yep.
because of the
Yep.
rain. I mean, maybe that's right, maybe that's wrong. I don't know, but yeah, I know that they seem to be more active in the rain
Yeah.
for one reason or another. But
I think when there's any kind of I've noticed this with wind a lot too. A lot of times when it's really windy, it don't make sense, but a lot of times I see them in open terrain too because it just impairs their senses. They can't hear as well, see as well. When they're out in that open country, they can see everything a lot better. And I think that's it. And a lot of hens,
yeah,
especially after rain, a lot of hens are always out in the fields eating bugs and stuff. Just makes for good
yep,
strutting country for them birds.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, you'll see them all the time in the rain. As soon as it starts raining, and if I'm driving down the road, I'm looking for birds in fields. I don't even know how I keep the truck on the road
Oh, I'm the
sometimes.
same way. I've almost drove into a ditch 100 times looking for turkeys.
Yeah, I feel you, man. I feel you. So, you said you got some vacation time. You're gonna put some guys on some birds?
Yeah, that's the plan. That's turkey season's only in PA for a month, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
well, as soon as I got my vacation, I'm like, it's going in May. It's turkey hunt's my favorite. And I'd rather watch someone else shoot one than myself. That's like when my buddy's like, I can't shoot. I'm like, dude, just try it. Like I'd rather have if they spook, it's fine. Like I just want you to shoot. He was just
Mm-hmm.
he just like I want you to shoot. So I wasn't
Yeah.
gonna pass it up.
Yeah, sometimes you get into those positions where, the other guy can't shoot or you can't shoot. Have you ever landed a double like that?
So me and my cousin did a few years back. We shot actually. I said shoot on three. Well, I went 1, 2, and then I shot. He was waiting for three, and I killed one, and the other one I just started purring, real quick, and the other one's running around, has no idea what happened. He ended up shooting the other one. That was the only
Mm-hmm.
time we ever doubled. It's tough to double. It is, especially after you shoot
Yep.
one. Your first instincts get up and run, get on it.
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
it's tough. We haven't done it a whole lot.
Yeah. I've heard of some guys doing it. My dad and I almost pulled it off a couple years
Really?
ago. Um, yeah, this was when I say a couple years ago, it was a while ago, but it was close. But when you're set up and one guy's calling in front of you and you're calling, or you're sitting out in front of someone, that's when it gets hard.
Yeah.
If you're not
Yeah.
sitting at the same tree, but you're close enough where you can kind of give that, hey, there's two birds, like let's try to do this.
Right.
But um, turkey hunting's tough, man. How do you go about finding a bird? What's your, and there's a lot of, I guess, a lot of details that go into finding a bird, but what's your go-to? You're gonna go put somebody on a bird right now, and the season has started. So for a guy like me who hasn't shot a bird yet, what are you gonna tell me to do?
Yeah. So I for me it's all in the morning. Like I'll drive out to like I probably honestly have I would say 30 different spots that I hit in a year. And if I'm going to a new area, I always go and listen. I'll go to the highest point of any when I'm looking on a map. I'll find the highest point and just go listen in the mornings. And if I don't hear a bird, I write it off. I won't be back there that year. If I hear one turkey, then I'll start hunting that area. And if there's one, there's usually more. So that's I always go from there. I always start by listening in the mornings. That's your greatest time to hear a turkey gobbles on the limb. And
Yep.
if they're there, you'll hear them. But it, it's tough. Do you hunt evenings much?
No, no, I don't. And like I said, I will consider myself a novice turkey hunter. I like being in the woods,
Yeah,
and that's why I like turkey
right,
hunting. And it is challenging. But no, I don't hunt evenings much, but here and there I will.
right. Like any time after they hit the limb, excuse me, after they hit the ground, it is like their goblin percentage drops like crazy, and especially as the day goes on, it's in the evenings. That's why I was asking. It is so hard to get a turkey to gobble in the evening. I mean, I can count on one hand how many times I've heard a turkey gobble in the evening. So, and with only having two weeks in May in Pennsylvania, really, where you can hunt in the evening, it's tough hunting. It's hard. It's hard to kill a bird anytime after noon. I think it's hard to kill a bird anytime after 11 o'clock. You
Yeah,
really only get
I
that
agree with that.
7 to 4 or 4 hours. That's 7 to 11 to hunt, and
Hmm.
it you just got to be in the right area. Then just got to find one bird willing to work during that time frame. And like this time of year, like we even we'll call, and if we hear a bird gobble, I think I think we get a lot of turkeys using this method. We've also probably missed out on a lot of turkeys doing this, but we'll call and work a bird for a little bit, and if he ain't moving within 15 minutes, we'll leave. Like we'll go till we find a bird that we know's alone that's going to come in and make it huntable. A lot of times with hens, they'll gobble all day, but they'll never come in. They'll just keep
Right.
working off, and I think a lot of guys hear that bird gobble and they'll sit there all day and wait for that turkey to come when it's just not, a lot of times, not going to happen. Now, a lot of times, if you're patient enough, you can do it and it will come in eventually. But early in the season like this, I'd rather move on till I find a bird that's going to come in and not waste, but not take up so much time, like 3-4 hours when you only got that much. You only got 4 hours to hunt in the morning, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. You make a good point. You go into like the highest point. I like that. You can hear everything, and then you can also work it downhill. Say you heard a
Yeah.
bird,
Yep.
right? Work everything
Yep.
downhill, easier on your body,
Yep.
and also, the percentage of birds that I've seen come uphill to be shot, far outweighs the percentage that I've even heard of that come
Yeah.
downhill to be shot.
100%. And access is a huge part of hunting turkeys. Like you, if you're not above that bird, like you just said, if
Hmm.
you're straight down in a creek bottom or something, that bird's gobbling up on a hill. I don't know if I've ever killed one calling it straight downhill, because they won't do it. They'll stand up there
Yeah.
above you and gobble and gobble and gobble, and they will not come down a hill. I've never personally called one down a hill ever, but
Yeah.
it's strange how the turkeys like that. It's
Yeah.
You'd think they hear a hen, it wouldn't matter, they'd go straight down, but yeah, they won't. But you get above them, man, it's a whole different story. They'll come running right up a cliff.
Hmm. Yeah, we've talked about that, numerous guys that have come through the show, and only one of them said, yeah, I've killed birds coming downhill, but yeah, the percentage,
Yeah.
oh, it's slim.
Yep.
It's definitely very slim, but they are super fun to watch, and when they're coming up the hill, and it's funny, if you're set up correctly, and you just see that head
Yeah.
peek up, and they're kind of like scanning around there, and that's when like, this is the moment.
Yeah.
Is Am I gonna have to make another noise again to get him closer, or
Right.
he already pegged me
Yeah.
in my spot to where he's gonna come into range and I can get a
Yeah.
shot?
That I've I've messed up a lot of times calling a bird up over a hill, and that redhead sticks up over there, and being so worried that that's the only time I'm going to see them, that they don't see that hen right there, and they're going to duck down over. And I've
Hmm.
took a lot of shots I shouldn't have took doing that,
Hmm.
just a little too far, a little too thick. But I've seen it happen so many times where they do look up over the hill, don't see a hen, because that first call you make, they know where you're at. They know
Oh, it's
they
wild.
know the exact tree you're sitting on. And
Hmm.
yeah, I've always been like, yeah, oh, man, when he sticks his head up over that hill and don't see us, it's, you need to shoot. But yeah,
Yeah.
the turkey is crazy. It is such a smart animal.
Yeah. It's definitely a lot of fun to hunt with other guys, like you were saying. I would say guys, women
Yeah.
also, and it's like a certain camaraderie you get out of it over, like, I don't know, let's say like rifle hunting
Hmm.
or something, because you're a
Yeah.
team essentially, and you're together, and being able to call for each other,
Yep.
and then you get me a bird, I'll get you
Yeah.
a bird, or whatever the plan is. It's a lot of fun, man, and I really tell guys that are not into the turkey game,
Hmm.
if you're an outdoorsman, just get out there,
Yeah.
give it a shot, see if you like
It,
it.
it
Uh,
Turkey hunting is it's, I'd say, the best way for anyone to get into hunting. It's
yeah.
a lot of fast paced too. It's not where deer, where you can be sitting all day. You're constantly on the move, constantly walking, and you can't beat spring mornings. The woods waking up. It's the
Yeah.
best. It's a great way for someone to get into hunting.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm glad that our state has a youth week before the main season
Yep.
comes in, because yeah, I think we need that. I think that that goes a long way for the
Absolutely.
kids.
Yep.
Um, but I know some guys are like, oh, they only, that one day, and then maybe they should get a couple other days. And hey, sure,
Yeah.
I'm open to that too.
Yeah.
Whatever gets more kids in the woods, that's what we need to be doing for
Exactly.
sure.
Yeah. Growing up, I like the Youth Day of Turkey more than Christmas morning. It
Yeah,
was my
I can.
favorite day of the year.
Yeah, yep, I know why. So, we'll get back to some turkey talk, but jump right into that, man. We didn't do the best introduction there in the beginning because I was so excited to get into your bird here. Um, Coy, just tell us who you are, where you're from, and then you were just talking about being youth in your youth and going to turkey morning. Right after that, let's go right into who brought you up through the outdoors. Any mentors or anybody that you like to pay homage to.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm from North Central PA, Clearfield County. Do a lot of hunting up up. I have a camp up in Cameron County, Potter County. Do a lot of hunting and fishing up there. Um, I do a lot in this area too, Clearfield County. Turkey hunting, fly fishing, deer hunting. It's been doing that my whole life. I
It's a way of life.
Yeah, it really is. Um,
Yeah.
been doing it since I was 6 years old, and man, I love it. I love it more than anything. Um,
Yeah.
my dad took me hunting and fishing since I was 6, and still get to go out with him. So I always love being able to hunt with my dad again when I get the opportunity.
For sure. Yeah, man. And that's, that goes right back to what we were saying about the way the outdoors works. And one of the best parts of being able to do all this stuff together is there's just I personally don't feel that there's any form of bonding that you can get better
Yeah,
than being in the
I
outdoors.
agree,
And
100%.
especially successful hunts, even if they're not successful, I remember the days of just being able to go in the woods and then, you know, we're gonna sit there and eat the sandwich we made to go in the woods in the morning.
Yeah,
Maybe it was a crappy day or
yep,
whatever, and we didn't get nothing. There's just no crappy days out there doing it, with family and friends and people you love. So I'm always pushing this on everybody. Like, hey, if you guys want to get into hunting or fishing or anything outdoors and you need help, feel free to reach out,
yeah, man,
and we can definitely try to help you out. But um, you said fishing, man, and we're in that time of the
yeah,
year. Um, so I guess you would have been fishing pretty heavily before turkey season, and how was that
yeah,
treating you?
spot on. Fishing's been absolutely awesome this year.
Yeah.
It I do a lot of Euro nymphing, tight line nymphing
Hmm.
in the fly fishing world. Got really dived into that about 5 6 years ago, and it's it's changed the game for me. I absolutely love it. I fish nymphs 9% of the year.
All right, had a little disconnection there, but we're back on track here. But Coy, we were talking about Euro nymphing, and you were talking about tight line or Euro nymphing, and I want you to go into detail with exactly what that is.
Yeah, so Euro nymphing is something I got into a little while ago. It's basically no indicator involved, no suspension rig, so no bobber. It's all in your line. There's a sighter line, um, and it's designed for more sense. You have better. You can feel things better.
Yeah.
It's it's super easy to get into. There's no split shot or weights involved. It's all in your flies and your tungsten beads is what you use. Um, so that's really what I got into. It made for a much more natural presentation, and it really has changed fishing for me. It's like I said, I use it 90% of the time when I fish. Euro nymphing, and you can feel strikes so much better. You can feel a fish take it. You can feel it in your line before you even see your sighter line stop. So it's a great method. And I'd recommend it to anybody getting into fly fishing to try out your own nymphing.
And you need to use a bigger rod for that or anything as far as lengthwise.
Yeah, so you can get away with a 9 foot rod, but a 10 or 11 foot rod is definitely ideal. Just makes for easier casting. A longer lightweight rod, 2 3 weight versus a 9 foot 5 weight. Just more sensitivity in it, and you can cast further upstream, gather your line, get your line nice and tight, and it makes for a very smooth transition if you have the right gear to go into Euro nymphing. Just having a longer rod and a reel pairs up nice with that. So it's awesome. I like I said, I'd recommend it to anyone getting into fly fishing.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen guys do that, and I've I've watched some videos and stuff of people Euro nymphing with tight line, and that is cool,
Mm-hmm.
man. It's different, and I think it maybe the reason you like it more is because there's just so much going on. It's like nonstop action. Like you're just
Yeah.
constantly more involved in it. You're not just
Yep.
gonna lay a dry fly on top of the water and sit back and watch it for a minute and kind of get a break. You're it's just full
Exact.
throttle action.
Exactly. And everyone, a lot of guys that are big in dry fly fishing and stuff, say they like watching the fish come up
Hmm.
and take it off the surface, but watching your line jump,
Hmm.
when a fish hits, it's like the same thing. Knowing that you're setting the hook and there's a fish on there, it's pretty cool. It's something. Like I said, it changed everything for me. Like I having a bobber on there and throwing out split shot on my line, it caused a lot of tangles, and it it's just a very simple way of fly fishing,
Yeah.
I'd say.
Now I've seen some of the fish that you've caught, and I take it you are more of a trout guy. Is that the
Mhm.
goal?
Yeah, definitely. Here in PA, we got a good man.
Oh,
Like we're lucky with
yeah.
what we have. There's so many streams with wild trout, native trout, and they stock so many creeks. It's
Yeah.
Trout's always been my favorite. I used to get into bass and stuff like that, but like since I got into Euro nymphing, it kind of took my love for trout fishing to another level once I started figuring it out.
Yeah. Yeah, we are very lucky here in our state. I touch on that all the time. I have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of friends that travel a lot for fishing, and they always are happy to come home and still fish Pennsylvania and talk highly of it. But
Yeah, absolutely.
um, so as far as the Euro nymphing, is there like a go-to uh, nymph that you're using on there? Is it maybe like the stonefly or something? What's your go-to?
Yeah, so I do fish a lot of stoneflies. I fish a lot of perdigons, they're called. They're a real slim profile nymph with a heavy bead, and they sink super fast, so that way your flies are always on the bottom where the fish are feeding. And anything with that slim profile r- really sinks. A bulkier fly with a little, more dubbing, more tail, more hair,
Mm-hmm.
takes a little longer to sink. That slim profile sinks super fast and more time in the fish's feeding zone.
I got you.
So always small, slim profile flies. Nothing even super easy to tie. Just basic black or brown nymphs.
Now,
They
are you tying your own flies up then, or buddy
yeah
doing a
yeah
fly?
I
Okay,
I tie all my own
nice
flies. Yep.
man. Yeah, that's awesome. That's probably the next fire that I think I'm gonna put one of my sticks in because
Yeah.
I think that I'm gonna have to be trying that stuff. I make my own like lures for spinning rods and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
that's fun and stuff, But I think it's time to amp it up, step my game up here. But um,
Right.
as far as the waters that you're fishing that rig on, are you looking for deeper water? Or are you looking, you know, is there certain portions of the water that you're looking to fish over others?
Sure. Yeah. For me, my favorite depth of water in any river or any trout stream is like 6 inches to 2 feet. Like I like fishing shallow water.
Yeah.
A lot, this time of year, especially all them trout are usually up in them thin riffles, fast moving water, feeding on nymphs. And when you're fishing nymphing in faster water, it makes the strikes, seeing that line pause, so much more, easy to see,
Mm-hmm.
versus a slow, still, deep water where your line's kind of staying still all the time. So if a fish takes it, it's hard to pick up. But I always, like, if we go down to a hole, I always head to the very top of that hole in the fastest water I can find,
Mm.
because that's usually, most of the fish are feeding up there. Not as much big fish, I would say,
Right.
are up in that fast water. They're more in the deeper stuff. But yeah, the fast, skinny water is ideal for nymphing.
Yeah. Yeah, I've experienced the same thing, and I agree with you 100%. One thing I wanted to touch on, you're talking about using your smaller baits. Like, so what size hook are you talking on these flies that you're going, or I'm sorry, the nymphs that you're going to?
Yeah, like size 16s, 18s, and 20s.
Okay.
Pretty small.
Right.
They're small, but you usually use an oversized bead on them hooks. So a bigger bead, just helps with sinking. And um, so it's you're like fishing a smaller profile fly, but it's acting like a size 12 in the water with the way it's sinking. It's so heavy.
Mm-hmm.
It's I've used a lot of bigger flies like size 10, size 12s. They catch fish for sure, but most of the bugs you see in the creeks are, super, super tiny.
Right.
Flip a rock, you usually don't see them big, size 8s, 10s,
Right.
nymphs and rocks.
Yep. Yeah, you make a good point. That's for sure. Especially like sometimes I'll go up in a creek if I want to find live bait, and we'll get some stonefly nymphs and maybe some caddis bugs. We call them stick bugs. Those larvae.
Yeah. Yep.
Some crawfish or whatever we have on the agenda. My dad and my family like to do a lot of lake fishing and stuff, so I'll help them get bait all the time. And yeah, the biggest that I usually see in there is probably like I don't know, probably just a little bit bigger than like your thumbnail
Yep.
is about the biggest that. And when you do see them
Yeah.
that big, you're talking probably late May
Yeah.
or like middle May, like when the weather starts warming up, and they're getting ready to hatch. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So,
Yep.
um, yeah, the nymphs. I think that that's the best bait that you can use in a creek setting. Um, all around bait. I still think uh, that a minnow is the best thing for trout. But they're a pain in the butt to take care of, and using live
Yeah.
bait and all that stuff. You know how that is. But
Yeah.
the the nymphing that you're doing, man, you're catching large trout, and I know that you're talking about fish in the riffles, and I personally have not succeeded in catching big or trout. When I say bigger, like 16, 17 plus, like maybe a couple
Right.
like wild browns out of some riffles like that, but like stock
Yep.
trout and stuff, maybe not so much. Bigger holes, on the back side of a hole where it starts to taper, you can kind of see in the water where it's starting to taper back up, or if you have
Yep.
like an overhang, on a stream or something where they're laying there right where the water looks like it's going to start coming back up. I've always caught the bigger
Right.
trout in them spots, and I want to ask you, I was surfing your page and looking at a lot of really nice trophy trout that you have pictures with on there and that you've landed. What do you look for if hey, I think there may be a bigger trout right here. I want to fish
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. So bigger trout are lazy. Big fish are super, super lazy. And any any structure in the water, like a rock, a log, or anything that breaks up that fast current, seems to have a nice sized fish behind it.
Hmm.
They a lot of times, like in these crystal clear streams, is a good way to like see what's going on. But like you'll see this fast moving water, and these trout will be in the slow water right behind these structures, and they'll move over.
Hmm.
And like with the golden trout, you can see it a lot of times. Palomino, like you'll see them moving over in the current and taking
Hmm.
stuff in the fast stuff, and then coming right back to the slow stuff,
Yep.
not using any energy. So I always fish around structure when I'm looking for a big fish, but um, a lot of guys say, big bait, big fish,
Right. I
but
was just gonna get to that.
yeah, I a lot of times that is the case, but like it's most big fish I've caught have been on size 16s and 18s.
Yeah.
They're a trout. They gotta eat. They're not gonna pass up something small.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I go back to thinking how many guys in the past have used millworms and waxworms and other small bait and caught large trout. And
Right?
I know a lot of guys that fly fish are talking highly of using streamers, and it makes sense. A freaking streamer can
Yeah.
be 5 inches long.
Yep.
And some
Yep.
bitches that thick, right?
Hmm.
And they do work for sure. I've witnessed it.
Yeah.
But I agree. Bigger fish, big bait. But I've seen brown trout, this big
Hmm.
eat minnows, or at least maybe not trying to eat them. Maybe they're just trying to kill them that are this big, or even
Yeah.
shiners.
Yep.
So, and then also I've seen 30-inch, 32-inch brown trout taken on a stonefly nymph that's this big,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So
It.
I like the theory, but at the same time, you are a great example. All anybody has to do is go check on your page and see that you're using an 18, 16-inch or size hook,
Yeah.
and you're catching 20 plus inch trout.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, like you said, streamers are a great fly for big trout. I mean,
Hmm.
100%. But it's all like if there's a stain on the water or anything, you know what I mean? I throw in a streamer. But 99% of the time, the water's clear. Anytime the water's clear, it's hard to fish streamers because they can see so much better.
Right.
They can that heavy line and um they're just streamers are a great way to fish. Like I said, when there's a little tint on the water, because you can get away with bigger flies, bigger line, and when the streamer bites on, it's on. Like
Hmm.
it's but like I'll probably only fish streamers 2-3 times a year. If I can't catch them Euro nymphing, then the water's up a little, then I'll switch to a streamer. But yeah, 99% of the time I'm using the same 5 flies in my box.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where it becomes easier too, because you've honed your skills to a certain set where you're happy with it too, and you're not really looking to change anything. Like everybody, guys like you, and I know guys like myself. I'm always looking for more of a challenge for whatever reason or another. It's just the way it is.
Yep.
Doing hard shit feels good, and catching big trout can be difficult. But I want to point out that I have some of my best days on the stream catching 20, 25, 30. If it's a really good day, wild browns or
Yeah.
brook trout. A day on a
Yep.
mountain stream catching brook trout, you might catch 40.
It's the best. Yep.
Right, and you might only your biggest one's this big, right?
Hmm.
But it just feels good, and
Yeah. Oh,
um, I think that the large trout are great and all, and there's not that many of them. But I think sometimes it's just like guys only want to try to get them because they want that picture and they want to,
yeah.
put it out on a social media
Yep.
platform or something like that.
Yeah. I'll take quantity over quality any day.
I
Catching
will.
fish is fun.
Hmm.
When I go out, I don't look for big trout. If I catch fish, I'm happy.
Yeah, yeah, that's why you're there, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I highly recommend everybody listening that God bless you if you're out catching big trout, and I'm very impressed. That's great, but I hope that you're getting your quantity into, because when your line's
Uh,
out of the water, then you're doing something right. If you're always in the water, then I don't know.
exactly. Yep.
So,
Exactly.
what what do you got up for the rest of this year, man? Other than these birds, do you have any fishing trips planned? Do you guys go anywhere, or like I know you said you had a camp up north. Do you stay up there later in the year and fish or anything?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I have a camp up in Cameron County, and like I probably won't touch a fly rod again till June 1st, till after
Damn.
turkey season's done.
Mhm.
But I feel guilty, fishing during turkey season. It's only in a month.
Right.
But yeah, from July to August till you can't fish for trout anymore till the water
Mhm.
gets warm.
Right.
I'm up at camp, every day
Yeah.
I'm not working, fishing up there. I mean, I love it up there. But as far as other areas, like we do a lot of fishing down Central PA.
Okay.
Later in the year, the creeks stay cold.
Hmm.
We're always down there too. But it's hard for me to get away from up north. The fishing up north, man, is just
Yeah.
awesome.
I agree with you, man. Like you said, Pennsylvania has a lot of variety and things to offer, and we used to have a camp up north. Now we just go to my uncle's, but it's Tioga County,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
you got the Piney Creek and
Mm-hmm.
down into Potter there, the other side of Potter.
Yep.
There's lots of stuff that people know about. The Forks and some other stuff.
Yep.
Long's Run. These are all places everybody knows about, and there is some other little wild streams that I won't mention on here, but um, the fishing is really good up there. But I will tell you, here in Central PA where I'm at, like I just got back from camp and we were in Center County, uh, not too far from Huntington County, so a lot of people probably know exactly what I'm talking about. The water was cold, the water was perfect. Wish that maybe there would have been 3 or 4 more inches on the water.
Mm-hmm.
Creeks were a little bit low, and for whatever reason or another, that rain that we got, it didn't haze any of the creeks except for one creek that we were in, and the fishing was really good. We tore into some wild browns, and was very happy to be there and be fishing in our great state. But um, when it comes to doing any deer hunting, man, when do when are you finding time for that? Because I know you got what do you start fishing in January, later January, February?
Yeah. I pretty much fish honestly all year round. You
Okay.
know, from the second deer season ends till turkey season, and then
Mhm.
after turkey season till deer season. But
Right.
yeah, for deer, I start getting them jitters for deer about the end of July.
Yeah. I agree.
That's when it starts the whole
That's
deer
that's
process.
super relatable, man. That's usually whenever I start, the bow comes out and the
Hmm.
arrows start getting flung around a whole lot. And um, s- so, speaking of the archery, I know that you are a well-established turkey killing machine. When's the uh, when's the game with the bow coming out?
Yeah, man, archery is it's love hate for archery, man. I'm obsessed with it. I love it, but man, it drives me nuts. It's one of them things. The more you know or think you know, the more questions you have going into
Hmm.
it. It's like the past three, 4 years, I've started running crazy amount of cameras and trying to learn all these new areas. Running 20, 30 cameras a year, and man, it just trying. Like I said, you think you know a spot, but you never really know it. It's like it's just a big mystery. It's a big puzzle piece, and yeah, I love it though. I did a few years of for about 5, 6 years. I did traditional archery with a recurve,
Hmm.
and man, that's a whole nother world. That traditional archery.
Very tough.
I tip my cap to anyone that dives into that. And
Yeah.
then last year I broke out the compound again for the first time, and I said I think 6 years, and put down a good buck. And it was one of them things where I I wasn't. It was so I went so long without killing a good buck, a mature buck, and I was just like, first mature buck that comes in, I'm taking it because
Hmm.
I just miss that feeling of putting a buck on the ground, and it was awesome. There's not a single regret using a compound again. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Now you make a great point, man. It's all in what you want, right?
Exactly. Yep.
If you want this large challenge of shooting a mature animal with a compound or a recurve or any types of traditional archery bow, then you go for it, right? But sometimes you just need to go back to your
Yeah.
roots and get a deer on the ground. I promote early in the season if you have a doe tag that you know you're going to fill, don't wait to do it.
Exactly. Yep.
I've made that mistake plenty of times. Well, I'm hunting the buck. I'm hunting the buck. Which really the first week I should have just drilled the doe,
Mm-hmm.
and then later in the year at least I put that deer on the ground. And then also I really think it helps with any type of jitters or like pressure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure that can fall on you. Like you said, you went so many years without shooting a mature animal, and you may have been used to that, or that may have been something that year in year out you may have been shooting a nice buck, and that pressure builds, right? And it builds, and then you get
Exactly.
this psychological thing going where you have so much pressure on yourself, you end up taking shots that you don't want to take,
Yep.
you wouldn't normally take, or uh, you put yourself in positions where you probably are thinking things too much.
Yeah.
Trail cameras can definitely get in your head. I need to be here because I got a picture of a deer or whatever.
Yep.
And it's it's one thing to just get the deer on the ground
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
get back to basics. I know sometimes there's times to flip a switch and we get caught up in using all these type of new equipment that's out there, right? Oh, I want to try this, I want to try that. You have some extra money laying around and you buy this or you buy that, and really, you know, you you need a nice jacket, a nice warm pair of
Yep.
pants, and uh, uh, you could shoot them with an old bear whitetail too.
Yeah.
I know guys that still do it,
Yep.
right? So it's yeah, I love the whitetail hunting, and when it comes down to talking about that, we could probably do a whole freaking
Uh huh.
episode
Yeah.
easily on deer.
Yep.
But this episode is to shine the spotlight on you and what you're doing, and I know that you're also part of some turkey calls.
Yeah. Yeah. So I started making my own calls probably about 4 years ago. Um, I had a buddy text me. He's like, I'm surprised you don't make your own calls. And I'm like, man, I never even thought of that. Like, sounds like a great idea.
Mhm.
So I got all the stuff for it, started diving into it, and man, it's I love it because there's so many different options you can do. There's so many different cuts, so many different reads, your tension. There's so many factors that can lead into like making your call your own, making it
For sure.
sound exactly how you want it. And since I started doing it, I just fell in love with making it. And one thing I noticed is like the slightest little cut, the slightest little more tension, a little less tension makes a huge difference in your sound. So when I was getting into it, I was like, man, like there's so many calls out there, so many different guys making calls. I
For sure.
I'm trying. I was like, I need to do something a little different. And for me, I always loved using a raspy call, the raspiest call I can find. Imitating, old mature hen.
Mhm.
That was when I had my best luck. And a gobbler hears that mature hen. A lot of times it's game on. A lot of times growing up, we'd sit there and call an area. And my dad's a great turkey caller. And he'd call, and we'd hear nothing, and I'd break out this old raspy call I had, old raspy mouth call, and I'd call and it'd gobble,
Mhm.
and I'm like, wow, how did they not gobble to his? They're gobbling to
Right.
mine. I wasn't even, as what I would say as good as him at the time, calling, but and then I was just kind of got the wheels turning and went from there. But yeah, I make my own calls, own mouth calls. I make 5 different kinds. Beyond the Laurel is what they're called. I have my Instagram page. Um, man, I love it. It adds another, like you said, it adds another challenge to it.
Mhm.
Calling in turkeys with your own call.
Yep. Yeah, that's why I'm not shocked that you were on, the traditional side. You use a fly rod and you're doing one of the tougher methods of using the fly rod. And it's not surprising that you are making turkey calls now, and you're using your own skills to be able to get your own bird,
Right.
and it's impressive, man. That's why you stand out more than other people, and I know you're going to continue to do so. But I also think that that's why your next challenge that you really enjoy doing is getting other people
Yeah.
birds. Because then you are getting value out of taking those people out and teaching them,
Yeah.
and passing on what you know, or just mentoring, and that's probably the best thing that there is. That's why guys love taking their kids out hunting and fishing and seeing them succeed. And what are you thinking about for your future, man? Is there any type of dreams of doing any type of guiding on the water, or in the woods or anything?
Yeah, I always, for me, I always thought about guiding for turkeys somewhere, someplace. I know it's more common out west in the western states,
Mm-hmm.
and like I'd love to do that because I get quite a few texts from people each year, saying, "Man, I'd love to go turkey hunting and stuff." And I'm like,
Right.
"You ain't got to tell me twice, we can do that." So I'm always taking people, and I love it. Like I said, getting someone their first gobbler is probably the greatest feeling ever. I mean, it's awesome, and then knowing that they're hooked now, and then people you took out a couple years ago, they're going themselves and killing turkeys. I love to see it. I mean, I could. Same with fishing, getting people into fishing and stuff.
Right.
Showing them the basics of nymphing and throwing a fly rod, and it's cool to see, and then watching them going out and catching fish. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand, man. I like to follow the same path, and that's part of the reason why I started the show. Just try to bring some of the knowledge that I know to the table, and then also, the reason we have guys like you on is you have more knowledge in certain areas than a lot of people, and um, this show is not so much the biggest tactic and how to kind of show, or the opinions on why you should do something a certain way, but it does shine a spotlight on guys like you so that people can reach out to you and say, hey, how are you doing this? How would you go about this? Hey, here's the terrain that I'm looking at to kill a bird. Here's the water that I'm looking at. Point me in the right direction. What should I be looking for? Stuff like that. And that's where woodsmanship comes into
Yeah,
play. And a guy like yourself probably has pretty good woodsmanship because you've seen some things in the woods and you learn how to read it.
yeah,
And that's like a trait that you have to learn with boots on the ground,
exactly.
right?
That's anyone asks me best way to learn, best way to go about it is just going and doing it. You know, that's
Yeah.
how you learn. It's
Yep.
just being out there because every hunt to this day you learn something every single time you step in the woods or in the water. I mean, you're learning something. Even when you don't hear a turkey gobble or don't catch a single fish, you're constantly learning about that water. Learn what flies work, what don't work. There's something you're taking away from it.
For sure. Yep. I couldn't agree more. That's why it's so much fun, because if it was easy, then we wouldn't want to do it,
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
So, but yeah, man, I'm very happy that you came through on the show for me, and it was great talking to you. And I know that you're a wealth of knowledge, and down the road here, we'll probably touch back in with you, and we'll probably go over probably do some deer hunting.
Yeah,
So,
I'd love to, man. I
um,
appreciate you having me on.
for sure, man. I want you to promote yourself before you go, who you are, where we can find you, and then definitely, talk up the turkey calls.
Yeah, yeah. My name's Coy Donahue. I have uh started my own calls beyond the Laurel. You can find that on Instagram, Facebook. Um, Shoot me a message if you are interested in a call. I'd love to make them for you. Um, yeah, it's I love doing it. Any questions? I'd love to talk. Love to talk hunting and fishing.
Nice, man. Yep. Yeah, anybody that's listening, reach out to Coy. He's killed a lot of birds. He's got a plethora of beautiful trout and pictures. You guys have any questions about him? Euro nymphing, tight line euro nymphing, and being out in the woods and being able to get on a bird, reach out to him and ask him whatever questions you need to, and don't be afraid to buy a turkey call from my man here.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, brother. So thanks for coming through, man, and tight lines and good blood trails, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks again. Good luck to you this season.
For sure. You have made it to the end of another episode of the Keystone Chronicles podcast. Guys, I'm really enjoying what I'm doing here. Thank you for all the love and support. Coy, thanks for coming through, man. Great conversation. Definitely would love to have you back on again. And good luck to everybody out there. Turkey season's upon us. Get out there. Get it. Fishing season's in full swing. Guys, foraging season, huh? How about that? Get on out there. Just be outdoors. Take your family, friends. It's the best thing you can do for you, yourself, and your soul. Until next week, God bless.